Hey everybody, I have been away for a while here. I think it's been about a week or maybe even over a week since I last spoke to you, I think. um, Time's gone by. I've had a bit of a busy week the last 7 days or so. I am going to get into that. I know that I owe a review on the season finale of a couple things. I think I owe a little bit of a review on both the season finale of Person of Interest, which I was going to go over, as well as a review for the season finale of, the comic booky, Lost inspired, well, not inspired, written by some of the writers from Lost, as well as Buffy and Angel, and Fringe, though, Once Upon a Time. And I'm not going to get into that yet. I might talk on them at some point, but at this point, all I can say is I was disappointed in one of them, and that the one that I'm disappointed in is not Once Upon a Time. So, with that said, last time I talked to you, I think I was talking to you about Young Justice. And I think I also touched a little bit on Arrow, the Green Arrow project that is going up on it's 8:37 in the morning, I'm sorry. The CW show, the pilot's been picked up over at CW. So, with that said, I don't know what I was going to say. You see, I told you, that's on the tip of my tongue. So what we're going to be talking about is video games, comic book based video games. And this comes about from the end of a previous discussion on Young Justice, where I mentioned that during the hiatus for the second season, Young Justice is releasing a video game. The video game is being published by a little developer known as Little Orbit. I'm pretty sure it's going. I'm pretty sure. Don't take my word on this, and please correct me if I'm wrong. It's going to be the developer's very first console video game. Everything else was made for mobile devices. So what I'd like to talk about, there's been a lot over the years, a lot of video games that have been based on comics. Largely, most of them have been from Marvel, though not a lot of them have been good from Marvel. If you want to go back in time, we had Kitty Pryde of the X-Men, we've had the Wolverine the X-Men, X-Men the arcade game, did we have Child of the Atom? Yeah, Child of the Atom. And Apocalypse. And the list goes on, but in recent years, there really hasn't been a lot put out by Marvel that have been actual quality games. I'm looking at Iron Man, and I'm looking at X-Men Destiny, and I know a lot of people like the Ultimate Alliance games, but the Ultimate Alliance games seem to be the basis for most of the games that Marvel puts out. And I'm talking about, the predecessor like X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2. The two Fantastic Four games that are based on the movies have the exact same gameplay, only it's worse. The only one that I can really think of offhand that I thoroughly enjoyed is The Punisher, which I think came out for the PS2 and Xbox for the PS2. Loved that game. And on the DC side of things, of course, we have Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. Throughout the years, we've had the Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, which I'll admit can't stack up against the Street Fighter games. You know, Marvel vs. Capcom, great series. Street Fighter versus Marvel Heroes was I think that was the first one that came out in the Versus series. But then you also have the JLA fighting game, the Death and Return of Superman, the Batman games for the normal Nintendo, Super Nintendo even. I fondly remember the Batman Returns arcade game that came out. So, I mean, we all know that all of these companies, all these comic book companies, are essentially at a war over us, the consumer, to who has the best product. And it doesn't just stop at comics. This summer, we're probably going to have the biggest openings for any comic book movie ever. And I'm looking at Marvel for Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, and of course the Avengers is still doing tremendous. And in July we have Dark Knight Rises, the final movie from Christopher Nolan, which is something that I've been talking about a lot. But we've also, what we kind of forget is that there are other mediums through which we see comic-based characters, and in that respect, I strongly feel that DC has the upper hand. I haven't looked at the comic book sales, but to me, I'm a huge Batman fan. I am, so I kind of am a little bit biased towards DC, but I do know that there is a huge base. There's a lot more popular characters in Marvel than there is DC, and you can take that for what it is. You can say that that's debatable, but I mean, come on. Maybe DC has more memorable villains, but you really can't compare the list of heroes that DC has to Marvel. Marvel has Punisher, Marvel has Iron Man, Thor. You know, everybody knows their heroes. Where we have people from Vintage, or you know, we have Wildstorm. Lesser known heroes is what I'm getting at. I remember while I was reading, I think it was Blackest Night #1, and there was a couple pages where it showed a whole bunch of DC heroes in the Rand Valhalla Memorial, and there was a ton that I don't know, a ton that I don't recognize, and that doesn't really happen to me when it comes to Marvel. So I wanted to put that out there in case people kind of say that I'm biased towards one or the other. The bias is actually in character-wise towards Batman, but towards company, I kind of do favor Marvel. That said, and I love your opinion as to who has the better hand up on the medium, DC or Marvel. As far as I'm concerned, back in the 90s, it was the Ninja Turtles alone that held the sway for comic book video games. Ninja Turtles through the arcade game, Project Manhattan, of course, 4 back in time. Time is probably one of the best arcade games ever made, bar none. So I'd love to see where you guys are at with that, and I want to get into it a little bit more, do a bit of a breakdown to where each one stands. I'm pretty sure Marvel has more games out than DC, but I think DC has a higher quality setting on the video game market, especially with the earlier Batman titles. And the later Batman titles, I mean, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City are considered not just some of the best Batman games or comic book-based video games, but some of the best video games ever made, ever. So, there's that, and then there's the fact that the DC Universe is a huge hit as far as an MMO goes. Does it beat World of Warcraft? Absolutely not, but it's very quality. It has a great replay value. I'm really looking forward to the next update and the next expansion for the. It'll be the first PvP expansion. I think it's the last lap, a Joker-based thing, which I'd love to get into. It has the first new weapon, which I think is a terrible idea. Completely imbalances everything. But the new weapon that DC Universe is adding in is a throwable shield. It's a bit irksome for me that they have to go that way, but I guess there wasn't too much that they could have added in. I'm almost at the end of my time now. So next time I'm gonna talk about is television, superheroes and television. Um, I'm probably going to do that within the next 2 days, I hope. And it's going to be a little bit more organized than this. This is early, and I didn't have my thoughts together. Probably should have organized a little more. But this wasn't meant for a discussion from me. I wanted to get some discussion going from you in the comments section below. So if you could tell me your favorite video games based on comics, be it newer ones like Arkham, older ones like Marvel's Quest for Gems, I think it was called. They're all the same. All those games are made the same. The X-Men games, Quest for the Gems, Avengers, all the Spider-Man games for the Super Nintendo and Genesis. They're all the exact same, just different characters. Not that I didn't mind that. Separation Anxiety was probably one of my favorite games back in the day. So, yeah, that is. I'm going to end this now and probably go to bed since I haven't done that yet. Oh, the reason why I haven't done anything lately, I've recently started writing a script for a horror movie that I plan on financing and putting out myself. It'll be my second crack to a horror movie. The other one I was just a PA on, but it was a great experience. I'd like to leave the link to the trailer for that movie that got me started in this whole thing down below in the description. And yeah, I started writing on that, which is taking up a lot of my time. It's called No Man's Land. It's deep in Canadian culture. So there's a lot of native play going on, but there's also the war between the English and the French, which is I'm really interested in. I'm a huge fan of history. I'm a history buff. I'm sorry, it's a little hot in my room, so it's making me itchy. So there's that, and then the second one that I'm really excited about. I'm going to be working with a member of Red Tide from Australia and a graphic designer and programmer from Halifax here in Nova Scotia on a browser-based MMO, which I'm going to be writing. It's based on music. It's called Full Metal High. It takes place in a city called Trouble City, and instead of having warriors and mages, you're going to have classes like rock and heavy metal and punk and grunge. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I have a really detailed story laid out that I really hope this project sees today. We're going to be starting a Kickstarter to help with some financing and some backing of talent on it, because I really do need some help on doing the main story. I'm going to be needing some help doing side quests and dialogue, minor dialogue. So yeah, that's it. I knew there was a reason why I was talking about video games, so stay tuned for that. And once again, I'm going to be listing that little thing in the description box down below. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.